7 shocking consequences you never knew happened after Moses died. Devastating Bible secrets. The ground trembled as whispers of darkness shrouded the Israelite camp. When Moses' body laid to rest in the peaks of Nebo, something sinister unfolded. It was more than just the end of a leader, it was the start of twisted legends and shadows that danced in the night. Everyone felt it, an icy chill creeping down their spines, the very air thick with unease, as if the heavens themselves were mourning. And so, the tales began to spread, each one darker than the last. First, came the stories of the cursed golden calf. Oh, how it gleamed! But once Moses was gone, their worship returned with a vengeance, igniting chaos. People swore they saw fiery shapes dancing around the idol, taunting the very pillars of faith that Moses had painstakingly built over the years. Those who dared challenge its allure met with strange misfortunes: lost livestock, failing crops, and desperate cries for help echoing among the hills. Then, there were the plagues. You read that right. As if the past had risen from its slumber, frog-filled skies and rivers of blood haunted the dreams of the Israelites. And there were those who claimed the ghosts of Egypt walked among them, a reminder of the terror they thought they had left behind. Panic gripped the hearts of many, families sleeping with one eye open, afraid of what might visit them in the dark. But it got weirder. Reports of a stone tablet appearing at night, glowing faintly under the crescent moon, spread like wildfire. Some said it contained words from God himself, while others feared it was a warning, a precursor to further wrath. Everyone's heart raced as they gathered around to witness its luminescence. What was it trying to tell them? What would happen if they touched it? As thousands of voices began to whisper their fears, a new unease filled the air. Among the tents popped up rumors of mysterious figures cloaked in shadows, roaming the outskirts of the camp. Who were they? Spies? Spirits? Or maybe something worse, sent to punish them for their transgressions after years of devotion? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Back in the camp, the tension was palpable, like a coiled spring ready to snap. With each tale told, the fear escalated. Families huddled together, fearing the long night that lay ahead. As a group of men gathered to confront the glowing tablet, tensions flared, shouts mingled with sorrow, and the flicker of torches played tricks on their eyes. Whispers of betrayal and fear filled the air as they clung to their fragile faith, and just as they reached for the stone, a howl echoed through the camp, a sound so piercing it seemed to rip at the fabric of reality. The ground shifted beneath their feet, and darkness flooded the scene. What had they unleashed? And who or what would come for them next? A deafening silence enveloped the camp, broken only by the sharp gasps of men stumbling back, eyes wide like saucers. The howling faded, leaving behind a suffocating tension. The ground was shaking, no, not shaking, it was trembling with a warning that echoed deep within their bones. They stood there, frozen, as darkness began to swirl, coiling around them like a living entity. Panic erupted when shadows took shape, looming figures rising from the void. Cloaked in darkness, their forms flickered, deceptive and unnerving, like fiery spirits born from the very heart of the cursed calf. Every heartbeat pounded in their ears, fear gripping those brave enough to face the macabre silhouettes. What do they want? Whispered a voice, trembling enough to match the quaking earth beneath their feet. Another shouted into the night, we must fight. We cannot let them take our faith. But doubt dripped from his tone. The Israelites had always fought with physical strength, but what weapon could stand against the intangible terror that seemed to seep into their souls? Then, someone screamed. A piercing, desperate cry that sent chills down the spines of everyone present. A young woman named Miriam, clutching her newborn tightly, stood at the edge of the crowd. Her wide eyes shone with unshed tears, reflecting the flicker of the torches. "Please, we need Moses back. He brought us out of the darkness. Without him, we're lost." Her words hung in the air, heavy and sobering. In their hearts, they all felt the truth. Moses wasn't just a leader, he was their tether to hope. Thoughts simmered. Had his absence truly severed the threads of protection around them? In that moment, the figures seemed to respond, swirling nearer. They drifted closer, their shadows elongated and merging into the familiar shapes of those who had perished in their long journey. Parents, siblings, friends, all returning as dark wraiths, their mouths twisted in silent screams. "Run!" Someone shouted, but instead of scattering, they stood rooted, paralyzed by fear and sorrow. How could they escape their own haunted past? The spectral entities reached out, hands like clawed shadows grasping for the living, pulling them towards the brink of despair. A fiery light erupted from the glowing tablet, pushing back against the darkness. Its brilliance washed over the terrified faces, illuminating wide eyes filled with terror and confusion. "It's a message." A voice thundered through the chaos. "Perhaps it holds the key to our salvation." With renewed determination, a few courageous souls pushed forward, weaving through the crowd. They aimed for the luminous stone, believing it might reveal answers or, at the very least, provide some form of protection. But as they approached, a gust of wind slammed against them. The shadows flickered and roared, as if to guard the tablet at all costs. "What if it's a trap?" someone whispered, doubt creeping back in. It was a valid concern. Could they trust this glowing emblem? Could it truly offer a way out, or would it condemn them to the depths of despair? Now two forces were at play, the living who clung to their past and the encroaching darkness that whispered of betrayal. As the wraiths drew closer and the light pulsed anxiously, each moment felt heavier than the last. Would they find out what the stone had to reveal before it was too late? Would they stave off the despair that threatened to swallow them whole? The very fabric of their fate stretched thin. And then, without warning, shadows lunged forward, urged on by a malevolent will. What awaited them in the clash of darkness and light? Would the essence of the glowing tablet reveal a path toward salvation, or was it a quest destined for ruin? As the shadows lunged, the dread in the air surged. The crowd fell into chaos, faces twisted in horror as the dark wraiths drew nearer, separating them from the comforting glow of the tablet. Its light flickered, seemingly responding to their fear, but doubt loomed like a heavy fog. Miriam clutched her baby tighter, her whole being trembling. "We have to trust in something. The light," she shouted. The words echoed, reaching out to some who stood frozen. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the throng, a tall man, face strained but defiant. It was Nathan, one of Moses's closest followers. "Hold on. If we act together, it won't be in vain." He raised his arms high, urging unity through the panic. At his call, the frightened souls began to find their voices, rallying. "For Moses!" one cried, fists clenched. "For our families!" another added, eyes ablaze with shared determination. Their fear morphed into a flicker of courage, a collective heartbeat pulsing stronger than the oppressive shadows, but the wraiths, relentless, surged forward. They seemed to draw strength from the chaos. Claws of shadow reached for them, gripping arms and legs with cold despair. People began to scream as dark essences engulfed them, pulling them down into the swirling depths of fear. "Form a circle," shouted Nathan. "Protect the light." Folks rushed together, hands locked, forming a tight ring around the radiant tablet. As the wraiths crashed against their makeshift barrier, the air crackled with energy. The tablet pulsed fiercer now, vibrant and alive, as if recognizing their unity. Miriam felt it, a spark igniting in her heart. "It's working. The light pushes them back," she cried, emboldened. Yet the shadows fought harder, screaming with a wretched cacophony that echoed through the night, the pitch of betrayal woven into their shrieks. A shadow lunged for Nathan, but with a swift movement, he swung his arm back and kicked forward, colliding with an unseen barrier that rippled like water. Flashes of light surrounded those on the perimeter, illuminating the mist and casting fleeting silhouettes of whom they once lost, encouraging whispers of children who played, of laughter shared around campfires, reminders of hope. But just as hope glimmered on the horizon, a chilling revelation swept through the group. "They are us." A woman screamed. "They're our past, our regrets, they want to drag us down." The thought struck deep. Each person faced an apparition of their dark history, their fears materialized as wraiths snarled, clawing for attention. Each pair of eyes shone with the weight of guilt, grief, and lost love. The shadows were not mere outsiders, they were the consequence of every misstep, twisting into existence to haunt their present. In that moment of realization, the collective fear turned to terrible clarity. "Our past was always part of our future," shouted Nathan, fresh determination coursing through him. "We cannot outrun it, but we can confront it." They needed to face the pain together, to let the light guide them through. The glow from the tablet grew brighter, and the shadows flailed, desperate to snuff it out. Moving as one, they focused on their pain, their loss, each person embracing their personal ghosts. "You won't control us," Miriam yelled, her voice steady, a flame igniting within her. "We won't let our past define who we are." The wraiths hesitated, the space once filled with terror shifting. The barrier vibrated with new energy, brighter than before. The shadows screamed again, but this time in confusion, retreating as their power waned. As hope surged and light expanded, a new figure materialized amongst the remnants of shadow, something far more powerful than the wraiths. A silhouette cloaked in blanc, the very essence of resilience, step by step into the fray. "Is it him?" someone whispered, hope rippling through the crowd. They stepped aside, heartbeats quickening, as a figure emerged. Could it truly be Moses, come to guide them against the darkness one last time? Or was it merely another shadow masking a deeper truth? A hush fell over the crowd as the silhouette stepped closer, illuminated by the tablet's glow. Miriam squinted, her heart racing. Yes, the figure bore a resemblance to the legendary leader they had once followed. But could it truly be Moses? Or was this just another cruel deception? The light flickered again, momentarily revealing a face marked with wisdom and sorrow. "Fear not," the figure called, his voice resonating through the air like a bell tolling. "I am here to guide you once more." Gasps rippled through the gathered masses as people struggled to process this twist. Was it a miracle or a trap? Nathan took a step forward, eyes blazing with determination. "Moses? How do we know it's truly you?" The figure paused, a shadow of hurt crossing his features. "You know me. I was with you in the wilderness, I led you through trials. This darkness seeks to keep you rooted in fear. Only together can we shatter its hold." Miriam felt a rush of emotions, tears stinging her eyes. Memories flooded back, Moses parting the sea, his booming voice calling them to faith. Those had been moments of hope, but doubt clawed at her heart now. "But what if you too are part of this darkness?" she questioned, her voice trembling with uncertainty. The wraiths, sensing confusion, surged forward anew. Screams erupted as they swarmed like a storm of nightmares, reeling everyone back to their fears. "Face it together," the figure urged. "Remember the strength within you." With renewed urgency, the group gathered their courage, forming tighter around the tablet. "For our families," someone shouted, igniting a chorus of voices echoing against the wraith's thunderous cries. "For hope. For love." As their voices rose, the shadows shrank back. The tablet pulsed vigorously, bathing them in radiant light. The more united they became, the brighter the glow, pushing the darkness further away. But then, a chilling moment of silence. The wraiths paused, and from the depths, a voice emerged, cooler than ice. "They cannot stand forever. Their past will betray them." Miriam felt the weight of the words, panic seeping in. "What did you mean?" she shouted, the fear clawing at her throat, tightening her chest. Suddenly, the darkness shifted, and familiar faces emerged within the mist, people they had lost along their journey, members of their community swallowed by fear or regret. Each figure wore expressions of pain that mirrored the internal struggles of the living. "You abandoned us." One ghostly voice cried out, echoing through the night. "You pushed us aside." "No." Nathan shouted, stepping closer to the radiant circle. "We are not abandoning you. We are fighting for our future." But doubt crept in. How could they fight when faced with their own failures? Miriam looked at their past, still glowing faintly in the dark. Her heart ached. "We have to forgive. We can't outrun our mistakes, but we can learn." The words hung in the air, a spark of understanding igniting all around her. If they wished to break free from the shadows, they would have to confront every fragment of regret. The circle tightened, hands gripping tighter, a visual representation of resolve. "Face your past." The figure cried once more as a silver light cascaded from the tablet, washing over them. Shadows writhed and shrieked, but now there was desperation in their movements. "Let it go!" Miriam exclaimed, tears streaming down her face. "No more fear. We will no longer be your prisoners." Yet, just as the energy of hope surged, a loud crack echoed in the air, rupturing their chant. The light flickered ominously, and for a brief moment, it dimmed. The darkness let out a furious howl, sensing weakness, ready to strike again. "What's happening?" someone shouted, eyes wide with terror. In that instant, their fragile unity felt like it might splinter. Was it slipping through their fingers after all? The shadows surged once more, greedy for despair. And from the depths of the wraiths, a new figure began to rise, something darker and more terrifying than they had faced before, a being draped in shadows, laughter echoing through the air like thunder. "It's not over yet," it whispered, eyes burning like coal, promising more fear than they could ever comprehend. What hope could survive against such darkness? The ground trembled as the new figure emerged, its shadows swirling with an almost sentient malice. Eerie laughter resonated around them, choking the air, stifling the rallying cries of hope. Each gust of wind seemed to carry the whispers of the past, regrets and fears wanting to ensnare them. Miriam's heart raced, panic starting to bloom in her chest. She pressed her hands against the tablet, drawing strength from its warmth. "Stay together," she yelled, but the way the shadows writhed made it hard to keep her voice steady. The dark figure stepped forward, draped in an endless void, eyes glowing like smoldering embers. "You think you can confront your past? It only makes you weak," it hissed, every word dripped with venom. "Even now, the bonds of guilt bind you tighter than chains." With each word, Miriam felt the weight of past mistakes crashing down. Faces of lost loved ones flashed before her eyes, every argument, every failure, highlighting her deepest insecurities. "No," she shouted, shaking her head. "We're more than our mistakes. We can learn." But the entity laughed again, sharp and cruel, causing a ripple of fear to wash over the crowd. "Oh, but learning comes at a cost. Look closer. You've trapped yourselves within your own limits." Suddenly, the shadows twisted, revealing scenes from their past confrontations filled with anger, tears of regret, moments of betrayal and desperation. Miriam watched as Nathan faced down a younger version of himself, caught in an argument that had spiraled out of control, emotions spilling over like a dam breaking. "Reject the darkness," Nathan roared, fighting against the heaviness of his memories. His fists clenched, determination etched across his face. "Will you fight when your own mind seeks to betray you?" The shadowy figure taunted, reaching into the memories, pulling at the fear they had cast aside. People began to tremble, walls of guilt rising around them, encasing them in self-doubt. The warmth of the tablet dimmed, flickering like a failing heartbeat. "Strength comes from vulnerability, not from hiding behind walls," the leader urged, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Feel the pain, embrace it. That is how you overcome." Miriam stepped forward, breaking the orbit of despair. "We won't let you control us," she declared, her throat burning with raw emotion. "Each failure made us stronger. You're not our judge. The darkness recoiled for a second, almost shocked by the fervor in her voice. But only for a moment, as laughter rippled back with an edge sharper than ever. Then let us see how far that bravery takes you. Can you endure the truth of your own hearts? Without warning, the entity unleashed waves of memories, flooding their minds. Scenes turned vivid, vibrant with regret and sorrow. Faces they had once viewed with affection turned twisted in pain, accusing eyes piercing through them, making their hearts somersault. Screams erupted as the crowd began to falter. Was there a way through this storm? Stay united. Miriam yelled, her voice slicing through their despair, but doubt flickered in their eyes. Then, a flicker of light pierced through the shadows. It was the tablet, glowing with intensity, a reminder of their collective resilience. We must hold on. Nathan rallied, grasping Miriam's hand. We can face all this together. But just then, the shadowy figure reached deep into the current of their emotions. Will you endure every burden, every loss, every regret? Would you carry each other's pain? Or will you break under the weight of your own? With that, the shadows loomed larger, closing in like a vice, darkness threatening to swallow them whole. This is it, Miriam thought, heart pounding wildly. Our next move will determine everything. As they stood on the brink, trembling yet hopeful, what decision would they make? Could they withstand the truth that was about to consume them? The air grew heavier, thick with tension. Waves of dark energy rolled toward them, each one designed to suffocate their resolve. Miriam felt the pulse of fear wrap around her throat, but Nathan's grip tightened around her hand. She could sense his determination, the flicker of hope that refused to be extinguished. Don't give in. He urged, his voice fierce. The shadowy figure twisted and swirled, mocking them. Hope. What a fragile illusion you cling to. Do you think your light can pierce these shadows? Look around. This is who you are. The darkness surged, and with it came more memories, each one more painful than the last. Sights of their most devastating failures washed over them like a relentless tide. Miriam stumbled back, clutching her head as visions of lost moments surged forth. Her father's disappointed look during her worst decision. Friends she had left behind when they needed her most. Pain burrowed deep into her chest, and she gasped for breath, feeling the weight of every regret pulling her down. No, no. She cried, forcing herself to center on the tablet. It was still warm, its light glowing fiercely, a beacon amidst swirling chaos. We are not defined by our mistakes. Those moments shaped us, yes, but they do not own us. The laughter from the figure became frenzied, echoing chillingly. You think you are more than your shadows? Then show me. Embrace the truth, if you dare. Miriam turned to the crowd, eyes wide. We can do this together. We will not let fragments of our past chain us to despair. There were nods, whispers of agreement, but doubt still flickered across their faces like shadows in the night. Let us choose to see the beauty in our scars. Let us unite. Nathan shouted, his voice carrying strength. Suddenly, a rush of energy ignited in the air, the tablet responding to their resolve. Its glow intensified, illuminating their faces, pushing back the darkness ever so slightly. Hold fast. Miriam commanded, drawing the strength of every recollection she cherished. She recalled laughter shared with friends, the love in her parents' eyes, moments that defined her as a fighter, not a failure. With Nathan beside her, she pressed forward, emboldened. As the darkness pressed in, the entity seemed unsure, a flicker of hesitation breaking its taut confidence. What is this? Unity? Courage? Yes. They shouted as one, voices rising in a powerful wave. Their combined declarations surged like a tidal wave, pushing against the shadows threatening to invade their minds. Then, in an instant, the shadows recoiled, momentarily disoriented by their overwhelming unity and resolve. But it was short-lived. You think this is strength? It hissed, low and menacing. Then let us uncover what lies beneath this facade. Let us dig deeper. With those words, the shadows ripped apart once more, dredging up even more painful images that clawed at their hearts. Visions spilled forth, raw and visceral betrayal, hate, what-ifs, and clear what-have-I-done moments. Miriam felt her legs weaken. She swayed as the memories clashed around her like a torrential storm. "Stay strong!" Nathan yelled. But Miriam's breath quickened, her chest tightening. The cacophony of trauma felt unending. With a defiant scream, yet filled with fear, she stepped deeper into the light of the tablet. Her instinct told her to push forward through the pain. Would they crumble? Would hope dissolve under the weight of truth? Together they cried, voices intertwining, becoming a swirling current of resolve. In that moment, she understood accepting their painful truths could break the power of the darkness, but would their strength be enough to confront the darkness within? Or would they be consumed by their own shadows? As the shadows writhed and twisted, they stood at a precipice of choice. Would they embrace who they truly were, flaws, failures, and all, or would this be their undoing? The darkness pulsed around them, a storm waiting to unleash its full fury. The moment was upon them. Would they fold, or would they rise? A deep, chilling silence enveloped them, punctuated only by the harsh whispers of the shadows clawing at their resolve. Miriam's heart raced as she felt the ground shift beneath her feet, a sudden tremor of uncertainty that threatened to swallow her whole. The entity loomed larger, greater, more powerful than she had ever imagined. Each heartbeat resounded like a drum, a battle cry against the inevitable despair cascading toward them. "Miriam, focus!" Nathan's voice sliced through the chaos. She turned, and the fire in his eyes ignited a spark of rebellion within her. But even as she clung to that ember, the torment of their past swirled around them fiercely, dragging her gaze toward the dark memories it unleashed. Images flashed before her, a car crash that ripped apart her family, laughter turning to screams. The bitter ache of unspoken words hung in the air, thick and oppressive. She felt a potent grief rise within her, so sharp it could cut through steel. These memories had the power to crush hope, to suffocate them. "No!" she shouted. "You will not break us." "Break you?" The entity's laughter echoed, raw and cruel. "Why would I break what is already shattered? I can only reveal the truth." It lunged forward, the shadows coiling like serpents around her ankles. The crowd behind her faltered, fear flickering across their faces. She could feel the doubt creeping back in, like a thief in the night. Miriam clenched her teeth, resolute. "Remember your strength. Remember why you're here." With that plea, a warmth surged through her, radiating from the tablet. It pulsed in rhythm with her racing heart, connected, alive. The memories invading her flared, and where there had been pain, she now sought to uncover beauty. She wasn't just the girl who had faltered, she was the girl who had risen, who had laughed and loved, who had survived. "Together!" echoed through the crowd again, stronger this time. The shadows hesitated, reeling slightly, as if caught off guard by the power of their unity. "Keep going," Nathan urged as he took a step forward, eyes blazing with conviction. "We've fought through worse. We can face this." As they stepped forward together, the dark entity shrieked, and a wave of shadows lunged at them, seeking to devour what little hope they had left. Miriam felt the rush of air against her skin, the shadows turning to claws, aiming for their hearts. But instead of crumbling under the weight, she shouted, "We are not our past. We are defined by our choices today." The crowd erupted, their voices melding with hers, a chorus of defiance. It was beautiful. It was intoxicating. The entity shrieked louder, its form twisting with rage. "Fools! You think this will save you? Watch as the darkness consumes your light." And suddenly, the shadows surged again, but instead of fear this time, Miriam felt something different: anger. Anger at the darkness for even daring to question their strength. With flattened resolve, she summoned the memories that once crushed her spirit and twisted them into a shield. Each painful recollection morphed into fuel, igniting a fire within her that spread to everyone around. They stood firm, their hands intertwined, their collective light pushing against the shadows. What they once bore as burdens transformed into marks of resilience, strength, and survival. But just as it seemed they had turned the tide, a blinding white light exploded from the tablet, illuminating the chaos, and for a moment, everything froze. Silence descended, and then a deafening silence. Slowly, the shadows retreated, gasping for breath, blinking at the brightness they had never encountered before. It was then, amidst the swirling smoke of disoriented darkness, that a chilling voice broke through in a whisper. "Let us see what really lies beneath. The veil is thin, and reality is only a breath away." Miriam felt her stomach drop. What had they truly unleashed? Would they face a new challenge? Or was this merely the beginning of their reckoning? The moment hung precariously in the balance, and she realized they hadn't just awakened the darkness, they had also stirred something buried deep below. Something that would change everything. A low rumble surged beneath them, reverberating through the ground like a distant warning. Miriam could feel the vibrations travel up her legs, causing her to tremble. The light from the tablet flickered, unsure of its own power as the shadows lingered just outside its reach. What did we just awaken?" Nathan's voice quivered with fear, a stark contrast to the bravery he had shown moments before. "No idea," Miriam replied, fighting to maintain her composure. "But we need to stand together. Whatever it is, we're not facing it alone." As if responding to her words, the tablet pulsed once more, sending out a wave of warmth that bathed the crowd in a golden glow. Their feet seemed to root into the earth, solidifying their unity. But just then, a grotesque shape began to form in the shadows, lurking, writhing. It loomed closer, growing tangible, with jagged edges that clawed at the edges of the light. "It's coming. Focus on the light. Focus on each other." Miriam shouted, the urgency in her voice driving the crowd forward. A collective gasp echoed as the shadows began to weave themselves into a figure no longer formless, but a dark silhouette that pulsed with unrestrained malevolence. Miriam couldn't shake the feeling that this new presence was more than just a manifestation of fear. It was a being birthed from their deepest regrets, their suppressed guilt, and soft-spoken anger. It spoke without words, and the silence was deafening. "Your pain has summoned me," the entity slithered, its voice a coiled whisper that wrapped around their hearts. "Do you think you can face me without confronting your truths?" "No." Nathan shouted, his resolve returning like a tidal wave. "We won't let you control us." The figure recoiled slightly, as if uneasy with their defiance. Miriam saw a flicker of doubt in its shadowy eyes. "You think you can stand against me? The darkness feeds on your buried truths. Face them, or be consumed." In that moment, a surge of memories rushed back to Miriam, difficult conversations unsaid, truths hidden behind smiles. She gasped, a sudden tightening in her chest. The weight felt unbearable, yet the light around her flickered to life with possibility. "Everyone!" she called out, urgency mingling with authority. "Think of what you fear the most and share it. Only by bringing it to light can we banish this darkness." The crowd erupted, a chaotic symphony of confessions rising from their lips. Words poured like floodwaters: a brother's betrayal, a lost child, a broken promise. With every shared experience, the air thickened with emotion, rolling like thunder above their heads. And with each word, the shadows of the figure groaned, twisting as if caught in a tempest. Miriam felt the connection to the tablet deepen, an electric pulse that felt more like a heartbeat than just a stone, but then a chilling laugh echoed through the air. "You think your words can save you? Lies and truths, what's the difference?" It lunged forward, dark tendrils reaching for them. "Fight back!" Nathan cried, gripping Miriam's arm. She nodded fiercely, her resolve sharpening as she gathered their energy. "We scream our truths. We exchange our burdens and take back our power." At that instant, a brilliant light erupted from their joined hands, illuminating the darkness like the dawn breaking through the night. But the shadows shrieked, a horrifying cacophony that made her chest tighten. The figure began to twist, its form breaking apart but somehow avoiding complete dissolution. Fools! You think you've won? It spat, desperation creeping into its tone. You only unleash what's next. With a final, gut-wrenching scream, the shadows exploded in a harrowing wave, pulling back yet revealing glimpses of something darker lurking just beyond, and then, silence. Miriam, Nathan whispered, his eyes wide with horror. As the dust settled, a new, heavier air filled the space, thick and dark. The horizon of their reality shifted, warping the very fabric of their surroundings. It was not over. They had stirred something deeper, something unseen, something waiting. What have we done? Miriam breathed, barely able to fathom the ramifications of their actions. The response was immediate. Out of the darkness emerged a glimmer of something bright and pulsating, flickering ominously as it hovered just out of reach. Are you ready to finally uncover that which lies beneath? As the entity spoke, the ground shook violently. The very earth trembled beneath their feet, and the reality they knew fractured like glass, jagged edges peeking through the chaos. Was this truly the beginning, or had they simply plunged into a much deeper abyss? A sense of dread settled in the pit of Miriam's stomach as curiosity ignited. What awaited them beyond the veil? The darkness pulsed with a life of its own, undulating like a living nightmare. As the shimmering light flickered uncertainly, Miriam's heart raced. This wasn't just fear, they had awoken something powerful, something that could unravel their very existence. Stay close, everyone. Nathan shouted, pulling Miriam by the arm. She felt the heat of his grip, grounding her amidst the eerie chaos. Each heartbeat echoed in her ears, merging with the ominous rumbling that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The glowing entity above them sizzled like lightning, casting strange shadows that danced wildly. It flickered and pulsed, a strobe of hope fighting against the encroaching doom. You have opened the door, it hissed, its voice now layered with malice. The truths you unleashed were just the appetizer. Now the real feast begins. Miriam struggled to speak through the lump in her throat. What do you mean? The shadows roared laughter, splattering across the ground. Those dark tendrils are only the beginning. There's a storm coming, and you will have to face what you have buried long before today. Your truths are nothing without resolution. A surge of fear gripped Miriam's heart. What darkest secrets lay hidden within the depths of her soul? What about Nathan? As if sensing her despair, he squeezed her hand harder, their connection keeping her from slipping into that shadowy abyss. Suddenly, the air crackled. The entity began weaving its dark tendrils together, creating figures that morphed out of despair. Faces formed within the gloom, some familiar, some not, each twisted in expressions of pain and suffering. Every anguished face was a mirror of their fears and regrets, and slowly, the crowd began to panic. Miriam! Someone shouted from behind, a woman's voice soaked in frenzy. What do we do? We can't face this. Focus! Miriam yelled, trying to muster strength from within. This isn't just about fear. We need to connect. We were honest before. We have to do it again. The crowd wavered, uncertainty threatening to tear them apart. But Nathan's fierce eyes encouraged her. No. We own our truths. Let us do this. A flicker of determination ignited among the group, and they began sharing again, voices rising like a hymn. They spoke of losses, of dreams turned to ash. Slowly, a sense of unity formed, and as they began to push the darkness back, the faces twisted and writhed in agony, their clarity dimming as the light intensified. Pathetic! The entity screeched. You think unity can defeat me? I am woven from your very pain. I will consume you. No sooner had it finished speaking than a sudden bright flash illuminated the night, a cleansing burst of warmth that engulfed them. For the first time, Miriam felt a flicker of hope rise at the center of her being. But just as quickly, the ground shook violently again. This isn't over. A deeper, haunting voice echoed, one that didn't belong to the shadow. It gripped her heart with a bitter chill. From the shifting shadows emerged new figures, larger and more sinister. Each bore the weight of millennia whispers from long-forgotten tales and anguished stories. Their eyes glimmered with an eerie light, piercing straight through Miriam's resolve. "Face your past." They roared in unison. Miriam stepped back, pulling Nathan closer. They weren't just facing an entity. This was an onslaught of their histories, their failures. It was a confrontation neither of them had prepared for. "What are they?" Nathan shouted over the roar. "We don't stand a chance." Miriam felt anger igniting in her chest. "No. We can't let them take us down. We have to remember why we're here." As she spoke, memories flooded in moments of joy, laughter, love. In the darkest of times, those memories held a light. They could use it. Gathering the energy around her, she focused, pulling the others along. "Channel that light," she urged the trembling crowd. "Remember the joy, the laughter, the love. That's our true power." But just as they began to unite that essence, the shadows grew more aggressive, ominous shapes looming closer. "We shall see if love can conquer what lies beneath." Their laughter rang like a storm, pushing against the pulsating light, a clash of wills that told Miriam this moment would determine everything. What would happen if they failed? As despair tugged at her heart, she realized the fight was not just for survival. It was for redemption. With every ounce of strength, Miriam braced herself. Could they harness the radiant force of their collective memories, or would the shadows consume them all? As the darkness bore down, a chilling whisper brushed against her ear, "Tell me, will you risk everything to find out?" In that instant, she knew they were on the brink of devastation or liberation. The outcome hung heavy in the air as tempers rose and shadows crept closer. This fight was just beginning. What lay ahead was a battle for their very souls, a confrontation that would shake the foundations of who they truly were. Would they prove stronger together, or would they falter under the weight of their truths? The horizon darkened ominously, stirring echoes of what was still to come. Where would it all lead them next? The shadows swirled with a malevolent dance, flickering like a storm ready to unleash its fury. Miriam stood strong amongst the crowd, her heart racing with fear and determination. With Nathan at her side, she felt anchored, the warmth of their unity igniting a strength that pushed back against despair. "Remember who we are," she shouted, her voice carrying through the thickening dread. The faces of the lost twisted amidst the shadows, but she chose to focus on memories of laughter, joy, and love, fuel for the flickering flame of hope. Each flame needed kindling, and they began to share. "I remember the joy of my first harvest," a voice cried, faltering but firm. "And how it fed my family." Another boomed, "I will remember the laughter of my children." Slowly, the stories began to echo back, building momentum. With every shared triumph, the shadows shrank back slightly, faltering under the relentless onslaught of love and hope woven into each confession, but the dark entity responded swiftly, its howl of rage cascading over the crowd with palpable intensity. "You think this pitiful nostalgia will save you? I am your deepest pain wrapped in shadows. I am every regret unspoken." Dark tendrils lashed out, attempting to silence their connection, to choke the life from their shared courage. "Stand firm," Nathan bellowed, gripping Miriam's hand tighter. "We will not falter." Miriam focused, cutting through the storm with clarity. "We will stand together." For every tear shed, there was a moment of joy. Her voice rose alongside Nathan's, echoing throughout the gathering crowd. They ignited a fire within, the light around the tablet pulsing fiercely in response. Suddenly, one figure from the shadows stepped forward, a woman whose features twisted with heart-wrenching sorrow. "You pushed me aside," she cried, the lament echoing with familiar pain. Miriam's heart twisted. "That voice, you were my sister," she cried. "I am sorry. I didn't mean to leave you behind." A gasp spread through the crowd as others began to recognize figures of their past. Ghosts of loved ones lost because of anger, forgetfulness, and regret began to manifest, their expressions shifting from hurt to potential forgiveness. "I remember you too," another man shouted, his voice broken yet fierce, "and I'm here standing for you now." As the crowd began to share further, Miriam felt her own past clawing at her heart, the guilt of not being there when it mattered most suddenly become unbearable. But within her, something sparked. "Together," she called once more. "Forgiveness is powerful. We carry these memories, but they will not define us." The whispers from the shadows grew frantic, the dark tendrils pulling back as light began to pour from the growing circle. And then, as if a dam had broken, the lament of their pain crashed into a wave of warmth and love, cascading through the group until the darkness shuddered, refusing to withstand the brilliance of their united hearts. "Accept your truths," the dark entity screeched, its shadowy form beginning to ripple like water under pressure. "Admit you cannot escape who you've been." But Miriam felt the roots of those painful shadows start to crack, the tension shifting as the community rallied around her. The courage that had stifled beneath layers of guilt was now bursting forth, like a river breaking free from the confines of a dam. "We are more than what we have done," a voice from the back screamed, confidence igniting on every face until the air pulsed with electric energy, vibrating with collective strength that hadn't existed before. Then, with a shattering sound akin to thunder, the shadows cascaded like a waterfall retreating to the depths. The entity arched back, seemingly weakened, its form rippling as the ghosts clawed for the light. "No. You think I am through? You have not faced all your shadows," it bellowed, but the walls of fear could no longer hold against the resilience of their hope. Each soul began to glow fiercely, matching the tablet's radiance as they pushed closer together. Every shared pain transformed into a brilliant spark, lighting their way forward. There was laughter now, memories embracing warmth instead of despair. Miriam stepped up, locking her eyes with Nathan, fiery determination radiating from their grip. "Our truth is not just our failures. It's our ability to rise, to support one another even in darkness." With a final surge, they hurled that truth outward, a cascading flood of radiant energy that swept over the encroaching darkness, the ghosts of their past merging into threads of light rather than hard truths. Wails of despair filled the air, melding into echoes of laughter and stories of hope, and then, amid the shouts and spells of fearful energy, a magnificent explosion lit up the realm. It was a blinding light, uprooting the dark, dispelling shadows as a new dawn broke within the hearts of those gathered. The entity screamed, fracturing under the light, retreating as shadows unraveled, dispelling into nothingness. The darkness fell away, dissipating until nothing remained but the shimmering light of profound, living manifestation of hope and authenticity. As silence fell, the crowd stood in awe, breathless yet filled with relief. The radiant tablet pulsed gently as their eyes met, recognizing the collective journey they had embarked upon together. They were stronger than darkness now, forged in the fires of remembrance and compassion. With tears of joy staining their cheeks and hearts still racing, they began to embrace tightly, reaching for connections that had once seemed irrevocably lost. In that moment, Miriam felt a surge of gratitude. They had faced the tumultuous shadows and emerged brighter, more alive than ever. Still aware that uncertainties loomed beyond their horizon, they knew that together they could forge ahead into the unknown, unstoppable. "Let us go home," Nathan whispered to the gathered souls, but his eyes shone with something more than relief. It was determination. Their journey was far from over, but they would walk it as one. Miriam lifted her chin high, heart swelling with hope, and they began to move, hand in hand, stepping into the light, ready to embrace whatever came next. But wait. Before you go and move forward into life, be sure to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and bring even more of these incredible tales to life. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this epic conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful ending. Show your support now. You need to be part of this amazing community.